Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Dynamics 365 Security and Licensing Updates, What You Need to Know. I'm Sebastian Anderson with the Licensing and Database Desk here at Avantico. Today, we are coming down to the wire, folks. With roughly 7 business days until the first wave of licensing enforcement begins, understanding this new paradigm is extremely important. To guide us through the upcoming changes, details, and their implications, we have Morten Løgstrup, our Director of Customer Engagement, and Tatiana Subotin, our Licensing and Database Technical Lead. They'll be walking us through what Microsoft's upcoming enforcement means for D365 users, how to leverage Azure Telemetry insights to review actual user behavior and right-size license allocation, what's new in D365 security and governance, how to audit your current license usage and roles, real-world examples, how clients avoided thousands in unexpected licensing costs. Finally, there will be a live Q&A, as well as a special limited-time licensing assessment offer for attendees. Morten will be taking over shortly, but before we dive into today's session, I'd love to share some of the other exciting webinars and events we have coming up. So first, on August 26th, we have Microsoft Fabric in Action, Unlocking Operational Intelligence. In this session, you'll see a live demonstration of how Fabric ingests real-time data, applies AI agents to detect anomalies, predict failures, and delivers executive-level insights through predictive dashboards, all in minutes, not hours. Next, on September 9th, we have Maximize Your ROI with Dynamics 365 F&SCM Update 10.0.45. You'll see live demos of the most impactful 1045 updates, get practical insights on the 2025 release cycle, and learn how to align new features with your roadmap to maximize your return on investment. And to round out the month, on September 23rd, we have Freight Invoice Automation. Boost ROI with automated reconciliation in Dynamics 365 F&SCM. You'll catch hidden overcharges, automate billing, and maximize freight savings directly inside D365. Keep your eyes peeled for more events from us, and be sure to let us know about any topics you'd like to see us cover in the future. All registration links for these events will be made available in the chat and on our website. One last note. As we go along, do not hesitate to pop any questions you have into the chat, and we will answer them either during short chapter breaks or in the open Q&A section at the end of the webinar. If we don't get to your question live today, we'll answer it via email. This talk will also be recorded and distributed in a follow-up mailer for easy viewing later on. And with that, Morten, take it away.
Thank you, Sebastian. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. This is the fifth webinar that we are running around these licensing implications. And a lot of things have actually changed the last, I would say, couple of weeks, even days. But we will try to cover as much as it as we can and also jump into some live demoing because we have seen some discrepancies and bugs in the system. We have also seen some really good reports that have been duplicated that we used actually in the first three or four webinars, and we've also used them to do assessments. But Tatiana will cover some of that in a live demo. I will jump over some of the announcements that was made in early August, but also as late as actually yesterday. Again, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. We will do our best to answer them. We might not have answers to all of your questions, but at least we can bring those questions back to Microsoft, or we can do some due diligence after the call, because we are getting many questions and concerns from customers, because it's not easy to work with these security changes that are coming. So because the implication can be quite severe. If we jump over to some of the announcement, Most of you have probably seen we have a new set of reports in Power Platform. Actually, there's a new preview. I'll show you that in a second. I just saw it yesterday, but we managed to loop it into the presentation. Be aware, September 1st, 7 days, your users will get a notification banner. I'll show you where you can see if your users are getting a notification, and then still November 1st, it's 50 business days from now, we have the strict enforcement. Applications, we talked about that last time too, but it's pretty much everything D365, finance, supply chain, commerce, project operation. There have always been licensing enforcement on the CRM side of things, so nothing changed there. What happened in the August licensing guide, I added it in here. They actually did, Microsoft changed a lot of security roles. So if you haven't checked your Power Platform licensing report, you should definitely do so. We have seen for our existing customers, but also the customers we work with on these new assessments, that it have jumped pretty significant depending on how many users you have. But it's definitely jumped or moved users from either activity to a full user or team member up to a full user due to these changes that was in the August licensing release. Some of the unknowns, we still don't have a very clear insight into when some of the bugs and discrepancies are being solved. Tatiana, my coworker, she highlighted some of those in a blog post the other day. Maybe Sebastian, you can drop that in the chat if anyone is interested. She will also show you some of these things in the demo, just so you know, peace of mind. What I actually discovered, another thing that is unknown. Yesterday, I worked with a customer on some very legacy D365. I think they were called Unified Operations Queues. They were not reflecting correctly in the Power Platform Center. And as an example, I think they had 20 or so. And for those who remember, that's the combined finance and supply chain SKU. And it was not at all reflected in the Power Platform Center. So there is some issues. I don't know if they're tackling those first, since it's not that many customers that are still on very old or legacy SKUs. But check your Power Platform Center, because August definitely had some changes. Any questions, comments, Sebastian?
Looks like we've got a hand raised from Boyd Brebner. Go ahead and ask us what your question is. If you'd like to write it in the chat, please feel free, or also if you'd like to come off mute, you're welcome to do so as well, as long as it's a short question.
Yeah, just drop it in the chat and we can take it, then we'll power through here. I think might have been a mistake, unless he's not able to unmute himself.
I see.
Yeah. Anyway, we talked about this. The banner, they will still come here in 7 business days. You also receive a notification in Power or in Admin Center. It's mostly for those guys that are admin users. But the top banner up here, that is for all the users that don't have the correct licenses. And meaning correct, let's say a user require both a finance and supply chain, and they only have a finance, they will still get the notification as far as we understand. Yesterday, if someone received this email, I am questioning it a little bit, because they are saying November 1st is the enforcement date, which we all know. But further down in the read, they are actually pointing out October 31st. So I don't know if there's a day or two delay, but we will get to the bottom of that. If we go further, top of mind, we covered that last time too. But remember, your clean admin accounts, they don't need licenses. Service account don't need licenses per the licensing guide. For those who are running on D365 device licenses, they will still run without the same validation that is in place right now, but Microsoft are going to implement it down the line. We don't know when, but most likely end of year or start next year. The same with storage. It's a big topic. Definitely increased in customer increase the last 3 to 6 months for those that are live. And if you have ISV solutions, we have recently seen some very invasive ISVs that give you an example. A customer had I think it was a food and it was a food, some food related ISV, and they had that in AX12, and now they moved into D365. The majority of their full users was actually driven by that ISV. So keep a track on your. I think it's more industry specific ISVs because we haven't seen any issues with, for example, banking automation, with tax automation and so on. We haven't really seen any issues with that. You still have the give and take 4 areas where you can check your licensing, compliance, and security. We will touch base on some of them later today. But let me jump into the some of the reports that are there and will come shortly. Is there any questions, Sebastian? I can't see the chat.
Sure. We have one from Lewis Harris.
Yep.
What does are not charged but need to be accounted? What does that mean? Do they need a license or not? I believe he's referring to
Okay.
the top of mind slide here.
The admins. Yeah. So if you have a clean system admin, it doesn't require a license. So, but if the admin have multiple roles, beyond the admin, then they would require a license. I can share a couple of examples in an email after the call, because we see it quite often where we just need to trim a couple of roles, and then your admins, normally maybe a handful, they don't need a license on a standard basis. If we jump into the new reports, there's a couple of ways where you can look at it. In LCS, you have a new report, and I actually believe there's a new preview of the LCS screen. But for those who have access to LCS, you can definitely check it in here. The same picture or report is available in your Power Platform Admin Center, which is available through this link. And I did some comparison. So far, most of it is actually completely in sync, and I don't see any discrepancies between that and what's in LCS, so that's great. What we do see, and this is kind of a nominator, we do see that these numbers up here have jumped after the August changes in the licensing guide. So be prepared. This screen, what I'm showing now, is actually already changed for those who are trying the new preview. There's a lot of changes since last time, and the new preview looks like this, where you can actually see the licenses you have and the licenses that you have assigned. In the previous report, that was not available. And the link to that preview report is up here. It makes it a little bit easier for you to understand what you actually need and how much you have and so on. Where the other one, there was way too many lines. It was a little bit confusing, and you had to do some manual interaction. There's also a summarize button up here, which is pretty good. You get like a more detailed report compared to just a couple of months ago, that gives you the breakdown of the different licenses, so that you can import it to Excel, or you can. It's easier to work with. That's for sure. And I can drop the chat. Sorry, the link in the chat as soon as I get a chance. I think Stephen have a question.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that you have to have all of the licenses, or you're not going to be able to access D365. So like if you have a finance and SCM, but you only have one of those assigned, you won't be able to access D365 at all, correct?
Yes and no. From what we know, let me just jump a screen. You can see we have a user here, required license, human resources, and project operation. If we assign, for example, human resources, they won't be able to access project operation after November 1st. But they will
the
be
human
able to
resources
access human resources. Yeah.
Okay. The second question I wanted to ask you is, again, I don't know how other people manage permissions, but when I get requests like, hey, I need you to get rid of this button, or I need you to do something else or another, I have a test user, right, that I create. And then, so I'm assuming I'm going to have to like assign the test user the licenses and then test it out and then verify, I guess. Again, it seems a little bit more difficult now.
So
This is
yeah,
exactly what I do. Yes, that's my recommendation too. Yeah. Sorry, Morten,
no,
for
it's
interrupting
good.
you. Yeah.
No,
So yes,
completely good
this is
question,
exactly
Stephen.
what I usually do when, and I will show you today the evidence, like one real case, exported data just today, where the same role requires different licenses while assigned to different people. So it's really determined on the user level. So the role, let's say there is no such thing as a role license, like the license for the role anymore. I will show this example today.
Perfect. And also, Stephen, you're probably familiar with the different tiers of licenses, where a team member is, we can call it the bottom, activity the next, and then a full user, the top level. And if Tatiana can also show that, you of course don't need the team member, the activity, and the full user for one. The top one is kind of the one you need. But yeah, we can show that a little bit later. Also, be aware the report refresh every 24 hours. If you have just enabled, for example, user security governance in D365, there can be a little bit longer delay. We just enabled it for a customer yesterday, and so those things keep in mind. Now there's also a button where you can manage from an admin perspective directly, add new licenses to them. But again, I personally, I am missing what are the recommendations? How can we actually tie this into the telemetry so we know if they actually need the licenses? And that's the big question, and where the big additional cost potentially comes in, definitely with our customers. Let me jump a little bit forward. Database capacity, we touched on that last time. For those, let me actually jump a couple of slides back. For those who is interested in that, up here, capacity add-on in the left top corner. Keep an eye on that, because that's the next wave that are being enforced by Microsoft, according to what we know today. And that can be very, very costly if you don't have that completely buttoned up. In the licensing guide, the August, there was no changes from July to August. It's the same entitlement you occur from each license. So on page 50 or something, you can see this metrics. We will share the slide after. But just for those who is new in here, please check it out. The down part is for finance and supply chain. The top part is for the CRM applications and Power Platform. And over here in the finance and operation tab, which we see in, I would say, 9 out of 10 cases, is the finance that are an issue, and not the CRM. You can see some more details in here. If you click on this button, you get a rundown, and this example there's a lot of production and sandboxes. You probably have only between 2 and 5 in most cases, but you can actually get a drill down of what's driving the different database usage. And in most cases, there's a lot of indexes behind the scene that can be cleaned up. And in some cases, it can be very daunting and very challenging, because there's limited tools available to trim it down. But there's some best practices depending on what tables that are taking up all your space. So check it out. If you have issues here, reach out. Normally, it will look like this. You are over. There's a warning. and at some point it might impact your environment. If I jump to prices for this right now, and hopefully that will change, it's extremely expensive if that's going to be enforced. I still can't wrap my head around why the cost is like this, but it is what it is right now. We can only work towards getting it optimized. Any questions?
Yes, we've had a rather lively chat.
Oh,
I
okay.
believe
Sorry.
one of the prominent questions that concerns a lot of folks is best exemplified by Andrew Herbert. Morten,
Yeah.
at what point do we have to just accept what Microsoft is telling us on the Power Platform Admin Center reports and assign licenses? These reports still seem to be very fluid, and Microsoft is moving the goalposts. This has been a common concern many others have raised in the chat as well.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew, and nice seeing you here. It's a really, really, really good question. Microsoft's recommendation is get it ready by September 1st so that your users are not bogging you down. And we have not internally heard that they are moving the needle from November 1st to, let's say, December 1st or January. So by end of October, you should definitely have the licenses assigned. We jump into, and you have been through that, I know it, how you can optimize your licenses so that you don't overpay for users that actually don't need it. And that is a challenging task because it can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to fix the delta from where you are today based on the reports to where you want to be. And it can also take 3-4 months, depending on how many users, how complex and convoluted the security is, and ISVs and so on. But I would say, back to your original question, can we trust the reports? I would say if I jump back to, let's see, this one, for example, for all the customers that are on the newer SKUs, the D365 supply chain, D365 finance, and commerce, and so on, it's very accurate from what we see in LCS and here. Tatiana will show some of the discrepancies that she see in D365 and the reports, and hopefully Microsoft, they are fixing that fast, because otherwise what should we trust? The second part is most likely the cadence that we have seen improvements that have significantly gone up the last just 10 days. So I think they are fully aware of all the issues that they need to fix. And also thank to, if there's anyone here that have provided us feedback, because we are trying to share as much information with Microsoft, with the support people in Microsoft to fix all these things. But I bet there is a long backlog right now of issues being worked on. If there's any specific issues that anybody see in the chat, feel free to share it, and we are happy to take it up with Microsoft. Is it okay if I power through?
I think so. Yeah, that does seem
Okay.
to be the biggest concern.
Yeah.
There will be time for more questions later.
Yeah, and happy to go into more detail with the individuals on the chat to understand your exact situation, and then maybe provide some recommendations. So we just saw that the standard tools, they are, you get some visibility into it. You can see how bad is it, but the legwork, the hard work about getting this cleaned up is far from what we have in my opinion, unless you are super expert in security and you are really, really hands-on with your different licenses and so on. We have come up with a more detailed analysis, and we have actually had to change it quite a lot since they introduced the preview features in D365, because reports are no longer there, and there's new reports, and constantly understanding that things are changing just in the licensing guide. but we can help with a more advanced licensing analysis. And just to say, if you add up the delta, you can right now it's a crazy amount we see with almost every single customer. The other day it was a $47,000 step up for I believe the give and take 200 users in the system, but because the security roles were implemented the way they were or configured the way they were, it actually drove give and take every user up to like 3 or 4 licenses, finance, supply chain, project, operation, and so on. So there's definitely pay attention and get it done as fast as possible. That's my recommendation, because the process of understanding, okay, what's the delta? That's easy. We can do that in a screen share. Analyzing your data based on telemetry. If you have not enabled telemetry, please do it, because that is actually really good data we can stand on when you compare your report in LCS or Power Platform Admin with the telemetry report. We find the delta of what can we actually trim down in case that are users that have been assigned roles that they're actually not using us. And for those that are just turning it on, there's still time. It won't backtrack, so it won't give you historical data. So turn it on as fast as possible, because the telemetry is a gold mine when it comes to optimizing your licenses. Then normally we do a presentation, and as mentioned earlier, for some of the larger customers with between 3 and 3,000 users, we see everything. 300 to 3,000 users, we see everything from 500,000 up to 6, 7, 8 million in licensing and non-compliance, if we can call it that. Cleanup, in the beginning we thought it was fairly easy to do the cleanup, but it actually, depending again on complexity, it can take anywhere from a couple of weeks to 3-4 months, and we don't have that time right now. So recommendation, get started as fast as possible, because it takes time. It simply does. What Tatiana and her team is delivering to you when we do this, based on your telemetry data, your LCS reports, your Power Platform reports, we give you a very detailed breakdown of what's happening, what's driving up the licenses, and how can you change some of these security roles based on your telemetry data that is factual, so that you are not interrupting the users in the day-to-day business, because we don't want to change anything and then users start, hey, I can't do my AP, or I can't do check run, or whatever that might be. So we need that telemetry data. That is very key. But Tatiana, I have talked for 32 minutes now. Now it's your turn.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions.
No,
there are questions. I collected them. I will try to answer. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Tatiana will be best suited to answer some of the technical side of this, as we will see.
Great.
Thank you guys for your questions. They are absolutely actual. I'll show you how we struggle with this today, right? So first of all, for those who is asking about telemetry, you can go to our website, and Sebastian posted the link to the article where we explain how to activate telemetry. I'll show you. There is a short script that you need to run. I'll show you even smaller one, so even an easier one today. Everything else is very straightforward, and I will show you how to use telemetry. But before we start talking about telemetry, I know there are questions that people keep asking. So Ron, yes, that's true. Service accounts, this answer is not answered. This question is not answered by Microsoft. We don't know. We still don't know. We're addressing this question. We still don't know how to deal with the service accounts that are not system administrators, right? It's unfair. It's unfair to have all service accounts, especially for the integration, to have a system administrator role. So this question is open. we hope to get the answer, because Morten keeps working with Microsoft people directly. So I promise you, I will get back to you. About accuracy, no, the reports are still not accurate. They are not accurate. They still give us an idea where we are with the licenses. However, you know, like to be honest, I probably shouldn't say this, but I will say that I wouldn't worry about the licenses that much. I would worry about the user's access, to be honest with you, right? So we need to make sure that people have access, and we need to analyze what kind of licenses, whether trust the reports or not. Sales license covers. Morten, if you can answer this question, please. I remember there is a piece of, like, if you can find that page in the guide that answers the cross-reference licenses, and if you can share it, remember that page. Of course, you know what I'm talking about. So there is in the guide, in the August guide, and if you can guys share the August guide, for the, with those people who don't have it. There is a page, and Morten will show it, how the licenses cross-reference between the two platforms, Dataverse and F&O. So this question is answered by Microsoft. What type of license? And look, there are 1, 2, 3, 3 questions about the type of, like, 4 questions about the custom roles. Let me answer these 4 questions all together. It's quite straightforward. From one perspective, the developer can assign a license. In the entry point, there is an option to assign a license, right? And if you have an ISV, the developer can assign a license. There are 3 types of licenses, like the options: operations, activity, and team member. Not the SKU, they're still operations. However, Microsoft, from the other perspective, they assess it, right? So, and they divide all entry points assigned to the user into 2 classes: read class and write class. Yes, it's create, update, delete. Read, create, update, delete. Yeah, it's still the same concept, but they mark them very simple, like read and write. Write is full license, read is not the full license, let's say. This is what I see so far. So it's a combination of the 2 things. From one perspective, the developer needs to assign a license, and the lower the license, the better, right? From the other perspective, what Microsoft is going to say if there is an expensive entry point, let's say, like, it would be an operation, but the team member is assigned to this entry point with the right permission. These 2 meet somewhere in the middle and determine the license for the ISV entry points. Okay, I will quickly take you through the license analysis, how we do it today. Yes, thanks to that person who alerted us last time, almost a month ago, that we are going to lose our favorite helper. You know, this security analysis. Of course, you know. This report is available, and if you're thinking about the licenses, you know that there is a system administration, there is a feature that you need to activate. The feature is called security governance. The feature is in the feature management. You activate it, and you get a whole bunch of different reports. You refresh the report, rebuild. You rebuild the report, you get the data. You probably are aware of this. And it used to be a column here with the license, which is not available anymore. So it's gone. It's gone the next day after our previous webinar in our environment. We also lost it. How we deal with this right now, I will show you. I will show you how we deal with this. That's the first report. This report is very helpful. Still, this is our main report to analyze licenses. And instead of using the license that is assigned to each entry point. Right now we have to rebuild this. That's on, like, it's my job to rebuild the license requirement for each entry point. I will show you how I do it. I'm not gonna hide it. First, that's my favorite report for license analysis. The second report, so the license usage summary, still in preview, still unreliable. However, this is the best we have, right? A license usage summary shows us what licenses are required for each user. And it's absolutely helpless when we're talking about deeper analysis, like role analysis or duty analysis, privilege analysis. It makes it difficult. Not impossible, but difficult. So what Microsoft provides behind the scene? What helps us? What helps us? Microsoft has quite a few tables and views behind the scenes, and if you use table browser, I encourage you to explore two of them. One is, and I will place the link. I will place links in the chat a little bit later. Entry point, the same entry point here. The entry point is assessed on the user level. That's the first unexpected thing. The same entry point can be finance for one user and supply chain for another user. Again, unexpected. Unexpected result that we've got. Another unexpected result we saw yesterday was one of the clients brought this up. Device users, 90 device users, identically configured, absolutely identically. 89 of them are activity, one of them is finance. Why? Because the assessment is on the user level. And unfortunately, one of the users somehow was assessed as a finance user, while the other 89 identical users were activity users. This still happens, but you need to know that if you want to merge the entry points and bring the license requirement to this report, that's the way to do. But again, on the user level. So you need to add a user. Another interesting report that is behind the scenes, and also it helps me a lot to analyze role license requirement, is this one. This is the table called licensing user licenses by role. This report shows you security role, license requirement by user, that's by user, and whether this security role drives the license or not. An interesting thing is the human resource. As you see, that's my test user, 856, ending with the 856. And you see that the human resource manager does not require a license for this user, while the other user who has a human resource assistant requires human resource license. Why is that, right? We know that the manager is much more powerful and requires, like we would assume that it requires more. Yes, it does, but it seems like the other roles, or the other licenses, finance, operations, and supply chain, somehow cover this human resource manager for this particular user, but not for this. So for this user, as you see, this user has only finance, no supply chain. Then the human resource role requires an attached license. This kind of contradictions is something what we have to deal with. We cannot explain, right? Like there is no logic. There is no logic, but we deal with this. We just deal with this. Another like that's one thing. One example when the same type of role. Both of them are, by the way, both of them are human resource license. The same type of role in one combination of the licenses does not require attached. In other combination of licenses does require attached. And I exported a bigger picture. Look, human resource license is not required for the user. That's the user ID, is not required for the users. For all of them except one. All of a sudden, accountant role requires a human resource, while the other accountant for the other user does not require a human resource. How is this possible? This is a pure, I should say, that's the this makes an analysis of the roles requirement very confusing, because it's on the user level. So we should remember when we are analyzing licenses, we should remember that it's on the user level, not on the role, duty, privilege level anymore. It's on the user level, and we need to take it into account. And we do take it into account in our analysis. Talking about telemetry, I still have time. Talking about telemetry. Yes, once you activate telemetry, you will get to Microsoft Azure. The activation of telemetry takes really 10 minutes. You go to your telemetry resource. If you have an old school, you go to monitoring and log. You switch to KQL mode from the simple mode, and you run the query. The query is, it's, as I said, it's even simpler that we have in our blog. It's as simple as this. And you see 4 main things that you will need to analyze your telemetry. It's a timestamp when, who, or no, the menu item, the entry point, the user, and how long this user spent on this menu item, duration. What we can get from the telemetry? Lots of the things. I will give you an idea. We can get the list of the users who never use certain roles, like this. We can get the list of the duties that have never been accessed through this role, the list of the privileges that have never been accessed through this role. We can analyze each particular combination of role, sub-role, duty, privilege, and entry point. How many times it was, how many users accessed this entry point, how many times they touched, how long they spent on this entry point. And yes, I add the license to this. Definitely I do. Also, we prepare the list of the users, right? The list of the users who have access to this entry point through a particular role. And then even more. So the latest requirement is quite interesting. So when we have all of this information, right, analyzed, we know that some duties are not and privileges are not used. Some of them are used. Who uses them? We were asked to configure a very granular security, like very granular security roles. Configure security roles according to telemetry. How we did it? So the requester, and it's a very the person with a very good attitude, I should say, the person who wants to fix their security really a lot. She classified the users. We call it title, so the classification by title. All users are classified by title. Then we created title to privilege relationship according to the telemetry report. So what privileges were accessed by the users who belong to the same title? And then we created, let me show, we created like going through lots of Power Queries. We created an XML file that allows us, you know, probably this allows us to use the out-of-box migration tool for security. So once, and it's done, everything is done automatically, right? You just feed the data, and this XML is built to you just export this XML to a text to your notepad, save as an XML, and then you can go and you upload this XML with all configured security roles, like here, through the data import. It creates all roles, duties, and assign privileges to the duties. And it's all based on the telemetry report. It's a very granular security, as I said. Why? So we achieve two main targets. First, we provide the least required security, right? And it's the target for most organizations. And the second target, we have a good chance to save on our security. We save a lot, like up to 50% sometimes, analyzing just analyzing telemetry and building a very granular configuration, security configuration. So this is all like working possible, and it's all from this extraction, the one that I just showed, this one. What else? Do you have any questions I need to answer? We have 8 minutes. We can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, Morten, you've been active in the chat, answering a few stragglers here and there.
Morten, maybe maybe you could answer. Maybe you can answer the question about the cross references between the Dataverse roles.
I did, and there's a really nice metrics on page 3 in the licensing guide.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Great. So maybe you guys have questions. I'll be happy to answer.
Yeah, I think given the complexity and the volume of questions in general, as well as the changing context of Microsoft's policies and enforcement, if there are any sort of versions of your questions that you would like help with, please feel free to email those to us, or better yet, schedule a call with us so we can go over it in person with you.
Yeah, we have one question here from the users.
I see.
Did you see it? Okay,
yes.
Good.
How can telemetry be exported? So you click on the share button and you export to CSV. There are other ways. You see, export to Power BI or export in Excel, open in Excel. These two will create a Power Query to retrieve the data. This one is a straightforward export to a CSV. Don't forget that we have a limitation here, the last 24 hours, right? So you probably want to put a custom range, date range. And also here, so we usually export the maximum number of lines, and so far it's 100,000 lines at once. So some organizations that have lots of telemetry records, they need to split the data, like they need to break the data range into 7 to 10 to 14 days. The other organizations are fine, like the whole month or even 2 months. So it depends, really depends. You need to play with this, while this one is 100,000 lines. And export as a CSV will be just a straightforward CSV, like this.
Right, we have one from Chris Richards. When you have time, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Tatiana, if you were still proceeding down this line.
Richards, okay.
Essentially, do you recommend multiple application Insight instances, or can you use the same instance for test and production?
So it can be the same one. Your first 5 gigabyte, I think, right? I don't remember what our article says. Gigabyte of telemetry data is free. It can be the same one. This script is designed with the environment ID. Just replace the quote because the quote is formatted incorrectly. So you just need to replace the quote, just delete the quote and place it back. But you will see that here you have the environment ID, and the environment ID will help you split the lines and analyze those that are production related. Okay.
Right.
Let's
see. Just going over the submissions here. We appreciate everyone's input for today.
This is a lot of good questions.
A lot of good questions. Obviously very important for everyone here.
And it's very possible that we haven't answered all of it. We'll try to come back to all of them if we haven't answered them, but otherwise, please reach out to either Sebastian or myself with the exact question. We probably need a little bit more detail in some of the cases, and we are happy to do our best to find you a good answer to it. Reach out if you have more questions. If you want us to do like a deep dive analysis and deliver some recommendations, we can do that in approximately 7 business days, a little bit more in some cases. We will also share this deck. There's a bunch of links. There's also a couple of new links. Also now more users or more customers are done and then need to assign the different licensing. I think there was one in here that asked about assignments. But this, we're here to help and stay in touch if you want to get the latest and the greatest. We are trying as good as we can to keep track on Yammer with the Microsoft webinars and also get some learnings from the customers that we are working with, and happy to share what we have learned. Any other questions, Sebastian?
Let's see. I think
I'm placing the 2 views that I shared, the main views that are very helpful. So the views to explore.
Oh, I think there's a question from Stephen. Yep. Go ahead.
This final question. You'd mentioned that because we noticed a huge jump in the SCM licenses. That when did that actually take place? Like when did Microsoft make whatever? Because we had obviously activity operations license that changed. So do you know roughly when that took place?
Yeah, I didn't even see it until like August 5 or 6 or something when I downloaded the new licensing guide. And in the August licensing guide, I dropped a link. You can see the purchase order request requires a supply chain. And that I'm pretty confident, and we also saw it with a customer. That was one of the reasons why they jumped from activity to supply chain management. And of course, this is being introduced at the same time they're rolling out the enforcement.
Yeah, as I was going to say, unfortunately, this does appear to be Microsoft's intended use case for that. Hopefully, they can get some feedback if this causes issues or if it doesn't align with users, on your own ends, please submit any feedback to them that you can as well. It's always a good idea. Let's see. I think
that was a good amount of questions. Wow. But thank you everybody for attending. Thanks for the questions. Hopefully this was to some extent helpful. Don't feel that you are alone about this. There's help either with your partner. You can reach out to us. The Microsoft route might be a little bit slower because you might have custom roles and so on, and we haven't seen anyone really utilizing that channel. But we're here to help if we can do anything.